All right. And this is totally off from Friends with Jen, where I interview ladies that are leading with their hearts to cause a positive ripple effect in the world. And today I have my good friend with me, Brigid Dineen, who is a resiliency coach for women on a mission. So welcome, Brigid.
Thanks, Jen. So good to be here.
And I'm really excited to talk with you because there's a word out there that both of you and I love, which is cooperation.
Yes.
And I did a totally awesome Tuesday about cooperation, and Bridget and I are a perfect example of what cooperation is all about. So what cooperation is basically we're competitors. We're both life coaches, right? Like, so we're competitors that also, you inspire me, I inspire you, and we both like fuel our best selves in our work. And I'm doing this interview with you, and it's interesting because there might be somebody watching this video that has almost like pulled the trigger with me to get life coaching, but they see you, and we both have a very high standard of performance in our coaching, and I would refer anyone to you. And they might listen to you and hear your voice, hear your message, and like your vibe, like it suits them better. Get coached by you, which means I lose the potential business up front. But what cooperation is, it always comes back around. So they would have an amazing experience with you, and hands down, no doubt. Then they start spreading the word about life coaching and what a difference it's made in their life. And so one person becomes 5, becomes 10, becomes 20, and there will be, out of that group, potentially somebody that's into my vibe, my message, my voice. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
What I love about that too is that it's really all about resonance.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm in such integrity when I consider this kind of a relationship, like anytime in the past, if I ever got my back up or thought that, if I thought in traditional terms, in terms of competition, it would just feel icky to me, like it doesn't make me feel open and generous, and I'm not in my right alignment when I'm doing that. But I absolutely feel the same way. I trust that there is a right coach for everybody, and vibe matters a lot. And, meeting people exactly where they are, it's like so much of it is serendipitous. And so I couldn't agree more that, the other way around is also true, of course, that there might be people that, generally have checked out my stuff and then they meet you and everything just falls into place. And I think it's really, really wonderful because it's, more is more is more in this particular case.
Exactly. And it is really the story of the tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Right. So as you and I, that's why cooperation, we're constantly vibing off each other. Like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? And whenever I get off the phone with you, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And whenever I get off the phone with most of my coaching friends, I'm like, oh goodness, new possibility has opened up to me. And it almost steps my game up, and
Absolutely.
so rises the tide.
Love it.
So I love starting off these interviews with the first impression I have of people and the impact that they've made on my life. So Brigid and I met last summer at a group that we got together that were basically launching online programs. So we were learning how to do that, and I hadn't met Brigid yet. And I remember I walked into the cottage and I said hi, and I reached out my hand to shake your hand, and you said, and you denied my handshake. No, you said, like, no, you said no because you were sick. And I remember thinking in my head that split second, oh my goodness, that girl has badass boundaries. I kid you not. I had no idea what you did. Isn't that funny?
This whole time I've been waiting with bated breath being like, what's she going to say? I have no idea. I've never heard this story before. So
I don't know if you remember, but you were sick. You were about to go on vacation and you weren't feeling well.
Yeah.
So you didn't want to
I don't want to rub my germs all over people's hands. Right?
And it was just so matter of fact, neutral, not charged, no. And I was like, yeah. And then I found out what you did. I didn't even know you were a life coach like me. It was so super cool. And a life coach. And you, when I think of you, I think of boundaries and I think of mindfulness and meditation. And bam, badass boundaries was my first impression of you.
That is so cool. That makes me, I'm really excited.
I know.
Yeah, of course I talk about boundaries all the time, and that's absolutely my happy place in terms of my coaching. I think it's so foundational, and of course we'll get into that. But it's interesting because I always love hearing when people pick that up from me as well, because it's something I've worked so hard at, right? It's like it did not come naturally. I've done the more than 10,000 hours of work around it. So this is kind of like a little nod from the universe being like, yep, you're doing it, you're living it. So thank you for that.
And that's why I love like sharing this stuff, because we don't normally hear what our first impressions are in people and what the impact. And this, I'll go into my impact now, and it has to do with boundaries as well. And we've talked about this. I love people with strong boundaries. One of my best friends has strong boundaries. I always know where she's standing. You know, Nikki, do you want to do this? No. Okay. You know, I don't have to dance around anything with her. I know she'll give me a straight and direct answer. I know she knows herself. I know she knows to take care of herself, everything like that. And you're the same way. So, and we've talked about this, and you've come up here to Blue Mountains for a hike and things like that. And I just know, you know, there's certain times with certain people, you don't almost want to ask them because you don't know if they'll stand up for themselves or what's right for them.
Right.
You know, and for you, I have no qualms. Like if I needed help in anything, I would ask you, and I know you would help me if you could, and if you wanted to, and if you didn't, you wouldn't. And it's just this clear cut conversation. And the impact that boundaries have on other people is it allows us to have our boundaries as well. So just it creates a space for me to always be like, no, or yes, or it's just whatever's true to me, because I know you'll respect it. You won't take it and react to it. Like I could have reacted to the handshake. Oh, she doesn't like me, or she's not nice or something.
Yeah, you know, absolutely.
It creates that space where it's just respect and you, okay, thank you. And
I love it.
Right?
Yeah, so good. Because I feel that way too. Like when people have good boundaries with me, it frees me up. Because I'm no longer trying to micromanage their reaction. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for example, you're talking about like us hanging out. Like if we're making plans, for instance, you don't need to worry that I'm just going to go along with what you're saying because I don't want to be awkward, and therefore we're going to end up spending an afternoon doing something that I really don't want to do, or whatever. And then it's just this totally weird thing the whole time.
Yeah,
absolutely. I feel that same way about boundaries. This is like so lovely. Thank you so much for including this in your interview. It's very cool. Very cool.
I like telling people that.
Am I allowed to like return the favor? Can I?
Oh, yes, please do.
Okay. Yeah. Gotta do it. So first of all, before we met at like our Ladies Who Launch thing, I saw you at a confab, and which is like for those of you who are watching, is a gathering of entrepreneurs in Toronto, and it's sort of like an unconference, meaning that we make up the agenda on the day as we arrive based on what people want to be talking about. It's very cool. It's very magical. Highly recommend. In any case, a few people that day asked me, well, Jen Walker, you know Jen Walker. And I was like, I don't know Jen Walker. I was like, maybe, do I know Jen Walker? I feel like I'm supposed to know Jen Walker. And then I saw you across the room, and I was like, oh, that's why I'm supposed to know Jen Walker. It was like your energy just radiated across the room, and just like even just being kind of near you proximally really just gave me this sense of energy and upliftment. And then actually meeting you and spending some quality time with you just amplified that so much. Specifically, because we both have the futurist strength in our profiles, I find I don't hang around with a lot of futurists very often. And so specifically when we hang out, it's like the fact that you live in this hopeful place about a vision for the future that to realists might seem quite divorced from present day reality. It gives me permission too to lean into that place. Yeah. And elsewhere in my life, I find myself getting quite frustrated about the types of conversations people want to have that feel limited, and just staying within the current confines of what we accept to be possible or true. And then we hang out, and then we can get creative, and we can envision a better world, and we can experiment and think about what that might look like and how we might get there. And it just, same way, like in terms of that fueling and motivation, I feel like I'm on cloud nine. I'm just raring to go at the end of our talks. I believe in my vision. when I hang out with you, and I know that it's possible because there are other people out there that are also geared towards that sort of thing. So you help me get out of my own head. And sometimes, you know, like as much as I do the work, I still have the inner critic. So it's like whenever she comes to town and starts trying to put me in my place, it's just nice to kind of recall the feeling state that I've had while hanging out with you, and I can fall back on those conversations and those times and be like, yeah, I'm not the only one, and I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that are into this and that are, you know, interested in moving things forward instead of just patching things up. So
You got it. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, so Gallup Strength Finders is a tool that I use in my coaching. It's a tool that the Confab community uses, and it's just an amazing way for you to know what your strengths are and for you to recognize the strengths of other people. Futuristic, which both myself and Brigid have, is basically seeing the possibilities of the future. And it actually says in our little write-up that futurists should hang out because of that, you know. Because we're just like, okay. And I notice that even, I do this in usually my second session with people. And I notice like I have some coaching clients that are futurists, and I know it. I know it before I know it, before the results come in. Yeah. Anyway, so it's super fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. That's really, I should get everyone to do that. That's really cool.
Totally. And, so magical. So
magical. We could go on like just loving on each other the whole time.
You know, that would be really fun to watch, right? Yeah. And for me, futurist is number 2. So it was funny because I didn't really consider it a ton because empathy is my number 1 strength. And I didn't give it a lot of thought until you and I started talking about it. So you've really helped to amplify and support that part of my strength.
Oh, I love it. My pleasure. Okay, let's get into, I am fascinated with origin stories. I am always curious when I see people doing their zone of geniuses and working in the work that I know they're in and should be in. Like, how'd you get to this point?
Mm-hmm. So like, how far back do you want to go?
You just give me whatever you want to give me.
Okay, totally cool. I think, how about we start with my exit from like the predictable path in life? Because I think that that's kind of when it all began before that, of course, but that's really when things started to shift. So once upon a time, I was a self-identified type A perfectionist who did all the things. I was on 8 school teams in high school every year. I was valedictorian. I was the first to win particular multiple awards, like just all that kind of stuff, right? Like go. I was in French immersion. I was a good golfer, like all this stuff that should make me very successful in a traditional sense, to be able to kind of like fit in and play the game and all that stuff. So when I was in university, I got a part-time job at Bell Canada, which eventually turned into my full-time career after I finished university. And I was miserable, like fully miserable. I was a corporate trainer and hated it for a bunch of different reasons, but it was just, it was not a fun time in my life. So I knew that I wanted to teach. I liked the training aspect and like the leadership and inspiring people and motivating people, but like I was training them about satellite television, and that was just not really super exciting for me. And so concurrently, I actually was also diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And so that made things very interesting at the time. Nonetheless, I knew something had to change. I think part of it was circumstantial, situational, like the idea that my daily life was sucking the soul out of me was contributing to those feelings for sure, in addition to other stuff that I was carrying from the rest of my life experience. So I gave myself permission to like have an exit strategy and be open to what was going to come. And I had no idea what that was going to be. But basically, like I saved up money, got a roommate, I quit my corporate job without having a new one. I had enough money to last like, I don't know, maybe 9 months without work if I needed to. I was already certified as a fitness professional, as a personal trainer. And so I thought, let's give this a go. I'm also a singer-songwriter. And so it was kind of like at the same time, I thought, let me do the fitness thing. Let me try the music thing. Let's see what happens. Which for somebody who was traditionally academically successful, on the surface would look like a big downgrade. But for me, it was a step into alignment and into exploring what actually filled me up. So as I look back over my career that started in fitness, and I ended up being a fitness entrepreneur and had my business has evolved over the years. So first it was personal training, and then it incorporated yoga when I started teaching yoga over a decade ago. And then about what year is it? I guess 5 years ago now, I got certified as a life coach. And since then, that's been occupying more space in terms of what I do. But there's still this blend of, because it's about well-being. So there's this blend of physical health, mind-body connection, and visioning your bright future. So as I look back and I think about even when I just started personal training, I was so into having these deeper conversations with my clients. Yeah. I always wanted to get to the root of what was happening, because we can have all the information in the world. Like I always, mention that Oprah loves to quote Maya Angelou when she says, "When we know better, we do better." And I'm like, sometimes we do. other times, all the information in the world gets us nowhere because #human psychology, behavioral psychology, all of that stuff. And it's really hard. So, but that's ground zero, right? That's where we actually create transformation, is by learning how to navigate the cycle of change, which in my opinion comes down to boundaries very often, and carving out the space for ourselves and our own desires, whether that's something like taking on a new fitness routine, or whether that's, boundaries around how much of the housework you're going to do because you've got a passion project that you want to be involved in. That's really the thread, though, that's kind of followed the whole way through this whole, more than a decade of business for me. Those are the deep conversations I've always gravitated towards, and the type of work that has always been the space that resonates most with me, and the thing that I'm good at supporting people with. Yeah.
And I love it. Here. And I love it. And I love that you live it. And what would you brag about? So go nuts. Go nuts on this. Brag big. What are you proud about?
You know what? I'm proud about my healing.
Cool.
Yeah, I got to give it up for my own devotion. I was going to say dedication. Dedication, yes, but devotion because it feels deeper to me. Devotion to my healing process. It can be really hard to give ourselves permission to do what we have to do to heal.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about healing, it could be physical, it could be psychological, it could be mental, emotional, all that stuff, right? So as I mentioned, I had some mental health issues in my early 20s, some childhood stuff to get over or to work through, I should say. And the fact that I was willing to go there, and have really been committed to seeing it all the way through. And it's actually, really informed the work that I do in the world, feels pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And more recently, it's that same sense of devotion has come up because I've had some physical health issues. I'm in the throes of figuring out if I have celiac disease, and I've got some gut stuff going on, and it's been really annoying, a super annoying diet, and taking all these supplements and spending lots of money on self-care. And I continue to be proud of my willingness to do that stuff and to prioritize well-being, because I think that it matters. Yeah. And like you said, is walking the talk, right? It really is what I believe. And so I guess that sense of alignment and integrity is what makes me feel like, hey, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah. I feel like you're the epitome of the hero's journey, if you're familiar with that. And so there's a call to action, there's the known, and you go on a call to action, and there's the trials and tribulations, and there's slaying the dragons, and in come mentors and teachers until bam, you have a revelation. This is what's maybe going on with your gut health right now. You're doing that work because I know you'll have that revelation, you'll have this learning. Then what you'll do, like any hero, comes back and they go through just a settling up, they come back home and they share it. So somebody like you that's having trouble with their gut a few years down the road, you'll be like, hey, this is what helped me. And you'll give them a blueprint.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's you. Okay. So people are listening to this right now and they're like, I love her. How can I work with her? What does she offer? What do you offer?
Yeah. So should we go, am I going through all the things right
Go,
now or just
go through
okay.
all the things?
Okay, we'll go through all the things. So I want to start off just talking about some free stuff I've got out there, because I'm just really so passionate about connecting with people and giving like that, just that little bit of help that's going to help to inch you forward. And so I have a couple of free things right now that I think are really awesome, and I would love if this is resonating, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, then these are two things that you might consider right now. One of them is a free call with me called Let Go of Guilt.
Amazing.
And it's a half-hour call, no strings attached, no pitching, none of that stuff. And the whole purpose of it is it's for people who basically struggle with guilt, where you notice that you keep getting stuck in this pattern of putting other people first and not being able to have healthy boundaries. Because of the guilt that plagues you. And for so many people, it's really quick, right? It's like we try to avoid that guilt so quickly that you barely notice you've done it, but then you look back and you're like, oh, here I am again. So I've developed this process. It's a little bit of coaching and a little bit of guided meditation that I intuitively create during our call for you based on your specific circumstance in order to help free you up from that feeling. And you get the recording of the meditation, so it's something that you can revisit to help continually shed that feeling as it arises, because that kind of thing takes time, right? To make it a little bit more lasting.
Amazing.
So that's one way people can connect, especially if you're eager to connect.
And that's just found on your website then?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyone that's listening to this, do this. It's half an hour, free guided meditation. Like this is, go on.
So that's thing number one, let go of guilt. If guilt is holding you back, connect with me and we will sort that shit out. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of free things is I have this guide called Lighten Your Load. And it's a PDF guide that takes you through 5 simple steps to help reclaim your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. So it's also geared towards boundaries, as you can tell from that description. But it's a DIY resource. And so if you kind of just want to dabble a little bit and if that's more your style at this stage, then absolutely check that one out. It just takes you through this process in a way that is, exactly in line with what it's called. It lightens it up, because so often it just feels heavy and impossible, right? Like when we're starting off, like we have all the reasons why we can't. Not possible. Someone has to do it. The sky is going to fall, all of that stuff. And so the good thing about this guide is that it takes you through a process that actually helps you to step into a space of creativity and openness before it asks you to even consider any of the changes. So trust me, check that one out if you're wondering how you can get started with this stuff, especially if you've been feeling kind of resistant and talking yourself out of it all the time.
Right.
It's a good one. Yeah. So lighten your load. Now, and then to take it a step further, I have a couple of coaching programs and online courses that I think are pretty fly as well. One of my newer packages that I offer is called Sweet Relief, and this one is all about self-regulation, basically. And when I say that, I mean like learning how to calm your nervous system. Yeah. So on the surface, it's stress management and how to find some calm in the chaos. But really what it is about is coming home to yourself and finding a sense of empowerment around what to do when your body and mind are getting caught up in either the stresses of everyday life, or if you kind of are inching towards that anxiety place. It's not therapy, and it doesn't replace therapy, but it can be a great supplement because it really helps you to work with your own physiology. And it's based in neuroscience in order to be able to find some calm.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then yay.
Go on.
So I have two other things I wanted to tell you about, if that's okay. I feel like it's a long list.
Absolutely.
Many things.
This is the main reason I do these videos, is I want to show people amazing people, but also like what is out there. Like
specifically what?
You have 2 amazing resources and you're sharing 3 more. Like people need to know what you do because somebody's looking for exactly what you do. Go for it. Go nuts.
Well, thanks. Okay. So the next one, this one is really, really my baby. I have a coaching package called Boundary Queen.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this is like from my heart to yours. Yeah. This is all about just claiming your space, you know, especially if you've got some relationships in your life that feel a little bit dramatic and you find yourself like falling into old patterns that really don't serve you and you just don't know how to, like, which way to go, where to step next in order to make anything change. This one's really for you. Like if you're sick of trying to live on leftovers, if you constantly put other people first and put all of your own priorities on the back burner, this coaching package is really going to help guide you through the steps that it takes to change that stuff in a permanent way. And really it's like a it's a 3-stage process that I take clients through in this package. And the first step, is to stop shoulding on yourself.
Nice.
Because it feels how it sounds, right?
Yeah.
Because we have all these shoulds, all these rules, all of this stuff that we've absorbed from society, from our parents, from authority figures, that our inner critic has latched onto, and is just kind of measuring us by that stick all the time. And so it's really important to free ourselves up from the particular ones that don't actually support our best life. And so that's kind of the first phase, is to shed all those layers of nonsense that are holding you back. Now it's important then to get out of your head and into your body and into your heart. And so the second stage is all about sensing your truth. And we do that through mind-body connection. And we do that by being able to listen more deeply and suss out that resonance that you and I were talking about before, right? Because like we can try to make decisions intellectually. We can do a pro and con list. But so often when it comes down to the stuff that feels best for us, that is really meant for us, it is more of a feeling and less of an intellectual exercise. So if you can start to recognize the signs, and start to feel the signs from the inside out, then you're going to navigate your life with a lot more ease, a lot less self-doubt. And you end up kind of having healthier boundaries just as an extension of that, because it's kind of coming up and through you.
Right? Through you. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the same time, though, it's still hard. The boundaries are still hard. And that's where the last step comes in, which is learning to speak up for yourself.
Nice.
So that's all about, how do we have these courageous conversations that are maybe outside your comfort zone? What words do I actually use? How do I manage my emotional response when I'm freaking out because for the first time I'm going to tell somebody this ain't happening anymore?
Yeah.
So I've had lots of practice with those conversations in my life. And there are a lot of different ways to approach it. And so I'm really heavily invested in helping to empower people around navigating that process. So it's like there's this inward journey where we're shedding all the crap, getting really connected with ourselves. And then it's like you're ready to step out into the world again and kind of really stake your claim on your own life and be the leader. But that's going to take some communication skills when it comes down to letting people know what to expect and drawing those boundaries. So Boundary Queen is my baby.
Is Boundary Queen a one-on-one program, online program?
Yeah.
Okay, one-on-one. Yeah. How long is it?
It's all one-on-one coaching. It's 12 weeks in total. So it's 9 sessions. So it's 3 weeks on, 1 week off for some integration. And you get lots of extra resources. You get Sweet Relief automatically when you sign up for Boundary Queen. You also get the last thing I wanted to tell you about, which is Mindfulness for Busy People. That's my online course. So you just get that as a bonus if you're signing up for Boundary Queen. Because again, like I was saying, it requires a lot of skill in order to be able to do this. Like if you're going to be resilient AF, then it's, there's stuff that you can learn. There's skills and strategies that you can actually absorb and learn in order to be able to navigate those waters. And so for me, two of the biggies are mindfulness and self-compassion. Yeah. So I've created a course. I'm in the midst of extending it right now. So at the time that you and I are talking, it's currently 4 weeks, but I've actually already prepped another 4 weeks for it. So it's 8 weeks in total. And basically it takes you through not only how to meditate, but the whole program is built from the perspective of helping to create lasting change as well. So it's not one of these resources that you buy and then it collects digital dust and you forget about it. I don't want to create stuff like that. I'm not interested in just making money and people never actually implement the stuff. So I've purposely infused it with a lot of support for actually integrating it and sticking with it. There's like a Facebook group. There are monthly meditations ongoing throughout the year, so even after the course is over. And even the way that it's laid out, it's really bite-sized. So it's not like you need to sit there for an hour once a week to absorb all the information. It's short and sweet. It's got lots of different lengths of time for the meditations that you can use. So it's really, really geared towards people who might not have tons of time, but really do want to start to see the benefits of having a meditation practice and increase your self-compassion in the short term.
Perfect. So I'm going to include all your links. So for people that are watching, they're like, yes, I'll put a link to your website where you can find all of these resources and coaching packages and online fun. Awesome. And I'm also going to put you on my website. So Dive Heart First as Totally Awesome Friends with Jen under that tab for easy reference and resource. So we'll put that up for everyone.
Thank you.
And what do you need? So you're up to big things. And I love asking people what they need, because how can we help?
Yeah, this is a good question. So right now I'm really in the mode of like, just meet all the people. It's like, I've done the work of like being on the laptop and making the things and all of that. And I'm really excited about having opportunities to connect with groups of people. So I've been doing some speaking lately, which has been amazing. Totally lights me up. I really enjoy doing it. And I'm looking to be able to expand that a little bit more, really as a way to start to give people some of these tools in a community-driven environment. And so I'm doing corporate talks. I'm also looking just for like groups of friends who are interested in these topics and want to get together and have a powwow about it, that sort of thing. So I've got some workshops and talks that I lead around that. And the main purpose of that for me is really just that I want to meet more people. I want to have more of an opportunity to talk about this stuff. I think especially because it's deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it can be hard for people to kind of take the first step and ask for help with this kind of thing. Absolutely. So I've really recognized that it's important to be out there even more in like a low stakes, really accessible kind of way. So I'm looking to partner with basically anybody with whom this would resonate. So I've done some talks at yoga studios before, at fitness facilities, at different companies. So especially any company that's kind of looking to support employee well-being and resilience. I've got lots of stuff that would be really, really helpful, particularly for I'm trying to think of how to describe the corporate environment. So I'm a little bit more casual, as you can probably tell in my approach. I do own a couple suits, but so places that, in terms of the companies I would like to work with, I'm thinking places that have a little bit more of a laid back company culture. I think that would be a good alignment. But yeah, basically I'm looking for opportunities to connect for talks and meeting with groups and that sort of thing.
Well, we'll definitely, if you're keen, we'll get you up here at the Coachy collab with me. I'm doing one once a month. So, and I'm doing mostly collabs because I love them. So anyway. So we'll
fun. Okay, well that's done. We'll just
work on so there you go. And that's why I love asking people what they need, because it's just about putting it out there, and then the need will always be filled. Perfect. Okay. So for people that are watching, I always think it's interesting. Like if somebody wants to do exactly what you're doing now, they're like, oh my goodness, this is like living my dream life. Like what sort of advice would you give to yourself like 5 years ago, or somebody coming into like the coaching world? Maybe just one piece of advice that you would really love to give to somebody.
This is a good question, because I kind of have like a couple little things in my mind that bounce around, but I'm going to go with this. I'm going to say, when you first start off, just have a little specific thing that you're selling.
Right.
The reason that I say that is because I had all these elaborate, like tons of different types of coaching packages, depending on what your goals were and whatever. And I really think that just didn't quite give people a place to land. And especially when it comes to coaching, like, it can be a big investment, and it's kind of new in terms of something that people spend money on, right? Yeah. So So there can be some trepidation around getting started. And so I think one thing that can be really, really useful is to have what Jenny Shih calls a bite-size offer. So she's a business coach whose work I follow online. And she's got blog posts about it and all sorts of stuff. She recommends just like, what can you deliver in like 1 or 2 sessions for a couple $100 or less? I think she recommends just starting at $99 so that it's, even if that's a little bit on the cheap end for what you'd like to be offering, just so that you can get people to sign up in terms of like, it's just like a no-brainer for them, right?
Yeah.
And so if I had a do-over, I feel like I would have focused on that towards the beginning rather than the grandiose stuff, which is also important. And absolutely, I work with my coaches, I work with my clients longer term, which is lovely. But I think that perhaps I left some people behind because I didn't give them an easy first step.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because that's something I learned as well. Because I started in here like go. And I had all these ideas. And now I've spread it out, and I keep on saying I'll be an overnight success in 13 years.
Yeah.
So every year I count that down, and every year. So it's given me some breathing room. By the way, breathing room on Facebook is where you can follow.
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
That's another free thing I have. Yeah. I had to pare it down a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, I love that. And so now, like, I've reduced my prices. Like, I'm doing even an intro session till end of summer for $49 plus HST, right?
Yeah.
So something like high value that people that can dip their toe into coaching, dip their toe into seeing if this is a good relationship. But, and for me, it's really great, being a new coach, like getting more practice. So that's like advice that I would give as well. There you go. There. Wow.
Yeah, so good. Make it easy for people.
Make it easy. Make it easy for yourself as well. Because I think I'm constantly evolving. Like, I really don't know how this is I'm a futurist, so I'm constantly thinking how it will turn out. I have no idea how this will turn out,
Yeah.
So
it will all reveal itself.
It will all reveal.
It's funny because even if I think about my own purchasing patterns, like if somebody, for instance, because everybody talks about your free offer, right? Like have a freebie. But if you've just like one thing that I would do differently is that I had a freebie and then a giant coaching package, but there was no in between.
Yeah.
So people wouldn't take me up on my freebie because they knew that the only thing I was selling was like $1,500 or more. So if they knew that they weren't in the market for a $1,500 deep dive coaching package, they're not going to take me up on my free offer. And then I'm getting all discouraged thinking it's free though. It's free. Why not? It's so easy, because it sounds like a low barrier to entry, but really it's like, we need the breadcrumbs rather than like all or nothing. So that's something I've worked on in the past few years. And if I had a do-over, that's what I would do.
Perfect. And is there anything else? You said a couple things. Are we good with that?
I think we're good. I think the other stuff will come up in other questions.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I think sometimes I want to get into how-tos, but I might do an additional, for everyone that's watching, Brigid does so much. She has a podcast. Something that I was really also very impressed with you was you're just tenacious and resilient, and you just really get things done. So so Brigid has this amazing background in like how to launch an online program, everything. Like you have a huge background of knowledge of all the how-tos. So maybe let's come back later on and do another video and post it to the Ladies That Lead group. And so for people that are really following this, they can dive off that. Cool. But I'd love to ask you next, what is a fun fact about yourself? Something you can share with the group. There's so many.
Which one will I share? The fun fact I want to share with you is that I have a song credit in a feature film.
No way.
Ta-da!
I did not know that.
Yeah, I thought you might not know, so that's why I picked that one.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm a singer-songwriter as well, and I have the closing credits song in a movie called At Home by Myself with You, which is an awesome Canadian film. I totally love it. And so my partner Keegan is a composer for film and TV, and so I like from time to time I'll do vocals for him. Like he'll write the music, he'll be like, "Come here and sing this." It's like one of the perks of being married to me. You got free vocalist. In any case, it's funny because it's always been like a bucket list thing of mine to have one of my songs in a movie. Now I want to get a theme song for a TV show someday.
Yes.
But in any case, I'm just going to trust that that's somehow going to fall in my lap. But yeah, so it was really because Keegan was working on the score for it. He does all the background music for the whole movie, and they needed a song, like an original song for the end, and they figured that this one song that I had was perfect. So yeah, so I think I'm on IMDb if I'm not mistaken, and that feels pretty fun.
That's
Very random.
Super fun. And it's so funny because you have a lot of fun facts. I didn't know what you were going to come up with. And that's another thing that I really love about you is like, you're so diverse in your talents and endeavors. And I'm always like, I see something new on Facebook or you talk about something, I'm like, and you do that? Like, it's just, you're an achiever. Let me just tell
all
you.
the things, right?
All the things. All the things. Okay, let's wrap up. And this makes complete sense because we're both futurists. So where do you want to be in 10 years' time?
10 years. I gotta have books. They're going to be books.
Cool.
That's something that's going to happen for sure. I love to write, and it's interesting because I'm right now at this phase where I'm sort of marrying these two sides. There's like this research-based geeking out on the science, wanting to know everything about, psychology and boundaries and how all that fits together. And then there's my artistic side that loves to like write poetry about this shit.
Cool.
So I feel like there's going to be this cross-pollination that will result in books. And it's definitely going to be related to all the other stuff that's part of my body of work right now in terms of my programs that I offer. Books and retreats, though, I think those are my two biggies. Yeah.
I can see that for you. I just really see something absolutely massive for you. And that's why I'm like attaching myself to you now. But you, like,
come on, let's do it together. Love it.
Yeah.
Likewise, by the way. So yeah.
Yeah.
We will link arms.
Yeah. You have this presence about you, and I'm just so excited to see both of us overnight successes in 13
years. You got it. Yeah. I think it's funny because as time goes on, I'm less attached to like the details of how exactly stuff shows up and exactly what it's going to look like. I just know that I want to reach more people about this stuff. I want to empower, like, this is my feminism in action, right? Yeah. It's like, because really what we're talking about is like getting the patriarchy out of your head.
Right.
Stop, finding ways of I was going to say relearning, but perhaps learning for the first time, depending on what your personality was like as a kid, just giving yourself permission to really be yourself. And I think it is so pivotal. I think that it's essential for our society to move forward in general. Like the more liberated we become as women, the more in touch with our own truth, the more confident to step into leadership roles and to really share our values and insist that we build systems that speak to our values instead of things that just make money. Yeah. I really think that we're going to change the world for the better. So yeah, so I think that books are important. I think speaking is important. And then I always love a good retreat, like some time to really go deep and to connect with other women. So yeah, all part of the vision.
And that's why I did this group. Like this group is birthed out of, like, I heard the quote from the Dalai Lama, 2009 Peace Summit in Vancouver, Canada, the Western women were going to change the world. And I was told that. And so that was 2 summers ago, and it hit me like a stack of bricks. And I just felt it as truth. And that was really my call to action. So I was doing what I was doing, but I hadn't mustered up the courage to really do it. Yeah. That right there was my call to action, as I must. And that's why you know me, I love the men and I love the women. And I love this group, the Ladies That Lead. Why I've created it is it's time for women to really step up into our voice and into our feminine energy, and just to go to town and create a we and all the rest of it. Let's go with it. So thank you, Brigid.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for being awesome. Yeah.
You too.
And we'll put you, to just a recap, on my website. You'll be up on the Ladies That Lead. Please become a constant contributor in that group so that people can see you more in that group. And anyone that's listening to this and wants more of you, plus the other ladies that lead women that I've interviewed, join that group and contribute. And those questions that I ask, brag, offer, need, are things that I really want to get perpetuated in our society. Let's brag about one another, ourselves, cheer each other on. Let's really get clear what we offer so that the person that's looking for what we have can find it. And also let's ask for help and tell people what we need, because as soon as you say it, it's the gap is filled. So thank you for today, and we'll get you up here soon for a little collab.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks, Brigid.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay, bye.